How many of you hate being in the dark? How many of you have ever been in like complete darkness? Like I'm talking, there's not a sliver of light. There's no windows. There's no crack in the door frame. There is no light coming in. And how many of you that's like scary movie action for you, right? Right? When we're in a place like that, darkness can creep in. Darkness surrounds us. We get scared. There's fear, all of these different things that kind of creep into us. But you know, if you happen to have your phone, one of my favorite little things on my phone is my flashlight. I use this all the time. Do you use this all the time? I use my flashlight all the time. Now, I want you to imagine that you are in that scary room and you remember you have your phone with the flashlight. You turn the flashlight on and all of a sudden there's a beam of light. And it's amazing what happens when there's a beam of light in a room that was completely dark. People like get a little bit of hope, like, okay, it's not so scary anymore. And if you're actually in a room full of people, they will actually like come together and they will circle around the light, right? You can see what's around you, and it helps to bring people together. People will gather towards the light. Scripture tells us that we are to shine our light, that we are to be light to this world. But a lot of times, what we do is we hide the light instead of shining bright. We need to boldly illuminate the path for other people. We've been in a series called Make a Way. But here's a question that I want to put out to you today. How do we make a way for other people? Maybe somebody made a way for you, but how do you now make a way for other people to come to know Jesus? Because we have a world that's full of broken people. We have a world full of suffering people. We have a world full of injustice, a world full of need, that they need the light, the hope, the peace, the joy, the love, the mercy, the grace that we can find in Jesus. So how do we do this? It's actually very simple, but how many of you know the simple things are the hardest things to do? Acts of kindness, acts of compassion. It's showing other people the way. And we can do this both locally and globally. We're going to start off in Matthew chapter 5, verse 14. It says, "You are the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and then puts it under a basket. Instead, a lamp is placed on a stand where it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see, so that everyone will praise your heavenly Father." It's very clear. Through our good deeds, we are to shine the light of Christ to those around us. So today we're going to ask, how you doing on those good deeds? Are you shining that light to others? You know what happens when we shine the love of God? You see, the love is made visible. And as we make this love visible through our actions, through our good deeds, it opens people's hearts to Jesus. So are you shining? Are you opening the hearts of other people for the gospel? About a year ago, I was in a room full of pastors and leaders in churches, and this pastor had come up and he was sharing a story, and he had recently gone on a missions trip. And he had gone to a third world country, and as he was in this country, there was a lot of devastation, a lot of suffering, a lot of need, and he was there, and he was telling people about Jesus, and he was telling them that Jesus went to die on the cross, and he was telling it with passion, he was telling it with conviction, he was helping to compel people. But at the end, a man came up to him and said, "Thank you so much for telling us about Jesus. We need to know who Jesus is." But our water is sick. Our animals are sick because of the water. Our kids are sick because of the water. We have people die because of the water. Thank you for telling us about Jesus. But can you help us with some water? You see, a lot of times we want to tell people about Jesus, but we also need to show them the love and compassion of Jesus as well. Do you know one of the biggest problems in the world is that they don't have safe, clean, drinkable water? That's one of the biggest problems in the world. You know, we complain about drinking tap water. And some of us are like, no, bottled water only. But around the world, the needs are so great. But we must not forget to show people the love of God, because it opens their heart for the gospel message. You see, when we have compassion, that compassion becomes a bridge to help other people discover Jesus. If you read through the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and you read through how Jesus interacted with people, you will see that Jesus healed the sick, that Jesus fed the hungry, that Jesus went to the marginalized, the ostracized of society. He went and he loved on them. He went and he washed people's feet. He was a servant. He showed them God's love. And as he showed them God's love, their hearts became open to him. Matthew 9, verse 36 says this: "When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were confused and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd." Jesus' response to suffering was compassion, was to help them. And that should be how we respond as well, with compassion. Can I tell you, often the first sermon that people ever hear is not inside of a church. The first sermon that people ever hear is your act of compassion in their lives. Yeah, they may have heard the name Jesus before, maybe used as a cuss word. But have they seen the compassion of Jesus working through his children? Have they seen his children go into the hardest places in the city or in the world or in the state and love on people who are suffering, love on people who are in pain, and help them? You see, people, they're watching who you are. They're watching how you live. Are you a person of compassion? Are you a person that reflects and shines the light of Christ? There's an old saying that says this: people don't care what you know until they know you care. When we care for someone's need, we make space in their heart to hear the gospel. I've heard stories of people in our own church where someone came and they ended up coming to the Lord, coming to Christ, all of this because they had a huge need in their life, and somebody showed up out of the middle of nowhere and helped him in the need and actually brought this person to tears. Why would you do this? Why would you help me in this moment? Like, we don't even have a relationship. You don't know who I am. And just this loving act of kindness made a way for them to come to know Christ. So how do we do this as a church? Our church mission is this: to love God, to love people, and to love people to God, to make a way, to lead others to Jesus. So how do we do this? It starts with local compassion. You don't have to go overseas to live missionally right here. We don't have to visit another city. We don't have to visit another country to love people. Because how many of you know there's a whole bunch of people in Tehachapi that need love? And there's a whole bunch of people in Tehachapi you probably don't like. And that's okay. But you still got to love them. You still got to show compassion. You still got to help lead them to the Lord. There are people in your neighborhoods. Yeah, your neighbor whose dog goes to the bathroom on your lawn every day and they don't clean it up. Yep, they need love too. There's people in your schools, your classmates, your teachers who need the love of Jesus. There's people in your workplaces that you can't stand and are super annoying, but they need the love of Jesus as well. There are people in our community that are sick, they're suffering, that are lonely, that are shut in, that don't have hope, that don't have joy, that need to hear and see who Jesus is. You see, when our church acts together with compassion, amazing things happen. You know, I was talking about that flashlight on your phone in a room full of darkness. I want you to imagine the church being a beacon of light in our city of darkness. And that would we shine so bright that people can't get away from us. Everywhere they look, they see the gospel of Jesus shining through you, through us as a church. We need to be the beacon of light. And as we do that, people begin to start to ask questions like, why are you doing this? Why do you love? Why do you do these good deeds? Why? Because we love you. Because Jesus loved us, and we want to show you the love that he has shown us. We need to plant seeds in our own community so that people can come to the gospel, so that people can come to Christ. We're going to take some time today, and it's not so much a sermon today as a reminder of who we are and who we need to strive to be. I'm going to remind you of some things that we are already actively involved with in our community and around the world. And then we're going to give you some glimpses of some things that we want to expand into in the next year. One of the things that we do locally is we support Teen Challenge. How many of you remember Teen Challenge? They came out in March for us. They had a beautiful choir up here. They sang, and they did an amazing job. And if you're not familiar with Teen Challenge, here's what Teen Challenge is. It is a Christian-based drug and alcohol recovery program. You see, the people who come into Teen Challenge, they're finding hope. And as they find hope through Jesus, their life is restored. And it's an amazing, amazing thing that we support monthly as a church. That is in Southern California. It's a worldwide thing, but we're supporting locally in our own area those who have a need in that area. So if you or you know of somebody who has a need in this area, please look up Teen Challenge. Please, they would love to take them in. They would love to help them on their journey. Another thing in town that we support is called the Family Life Pregnancy Center. The Family Life Pregnancy Center, they help those with unplanned or unwanted pregnancies. And they help them walk through their options beyond abortion. Whether that is to put the child up for adoption or to help encourage them, equip them to become the mom or the dad that this baby needs. They provide classes, they provide supplies, they provide ultrasounds. And one of the coolest things that they're doing right now is they're performing marriage ceremonies for people, helping them to get right before the Lord. This is right here in Tehachapi. It's a wonderful thing that we support as a church. Another thing that we support in our local community is the Salvation Army. Salvation Army, they preach the gospel of Jesus and they meet human needs in his name. How do they do this? They provide after-school programs. They are like in an amazing spot in town. They got a junior high right close to it. They got a high school right close to it. The kids just walk there right after school. They're providing them with computer labs. They're providing them with food to eat. They're loving on them. Other programs that they provide is they provide weekly food distribution to those in need. And we have people even outside of our town that drive in for that because they're helping them. They also help provide rent and utility assistance to people. They provide help for domestic abuse. And they also provide help for veteran services. And if you remember, just a few months ago, we did something called Angel Tree. Angel Tree is through Salvation Army. And what that is during the Christmas time that we as a church, that we come and we get these Angel Tree tags and we go and we buy Christmas presents for kids. Then the presents are given to the parents so the parents can give them to the kids. We're loving on families in our own community. One of the other things that we are doing and have done for a while is teacher appreciation. So last year we were at 2 different elementary schools and excited to bless them, to love on them for the teachers and staff. They got a hard job. You know, how many of you have kids? Raise your hand, or had kids. Maybe they're grown up now. Now I want you to imagine, let's say you have 3, okay? Maybe you have less, maybe you have more. Imagine having 35 all day, 5 days a week. It's a hard gig. It's a hard job. So we come alongside and we bless them and we help them. And so I want to just encourage you with this. We love our schools and our town. Next week is Teacher Appreciation Week. And next week, we're excited because we're taking on 3 schools this year. And so we have people who are going to be there. They're baking cookies. They're doing their stuff. They're going to go decorate. And I think the theme is slam dunk. Is that right? Slam dunk. All right. So it's basketball themed. It's even better, right? I like the basketball. So, but it's going to be wonderful. But it's just a way in our own community just to love on them. Something else in our community that we've done is we love on principals and administrators in our school. We send cards. We let them know, hey, we value you. Thank you for what you do. You see, we're trying to love the people in our own backyard. So thank you for your help with that. Some other things that we do as a church, just this last year when the LA fires happened, we had somebody in our own congregation that had called me. I had someone else from outside the church that called me. They knew me through basketball, and they called me and they said, hey, we want to collect some things and we want to, take some things there. And then I had this other person and they're like, well, I got a 40-foot trailer. Is there something that we could do? And I'm like, yes, let's put you together. And over a weekend, they filled up this 40-foot trailer. They drove down to LA. They took it to a resource center down there to love on people. You see, we are trying to love on people. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for being a part of that. Thank you for supporting that. One of the other things recently in the last about 6 months when Hurricane Helene happened, we helped support Convoy of Hope. If you don't know what Convoy of Hope is, it is an amazing ministry that takes resources, that takes hygiene kits, that's taking food, that's taking blankets to those in need after natural disaster hits. And so we sent funds to help them. You see, we want to help those who are in need. We also, in the last year, we helped foster children. If you don't know, when children enter into foster care, most of the time, all their possessions, they take in a trash bag. They don't have a suitcase, they don't have nothing. They got some clothing and that's it. So we bought duffel bags. We filled them for younger ones, we gave some blankets, we gave some stuffed animals, and we gave hygiene kits and different things to help them in probably a hard season of their life. We want to love on people and show the compassion that God has for them. So thank you for supporting us in that. The second part of how we help others to come and know and experience God's love is that we have to look beyond ourselves, beyond our own community, and start to look globally. And what can we do to make a difference in the world? You see, God has a heart that not only beats for Tehachapi, it beats for every tribe, nation and tongue in the world because they're all his children. And so we want to help people. We want to love them with compassion and good deeds. Matthew 28:19 says this, "Therefore go and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit." It's not just California that Jesus went to the cross for. It's the whole world. And we need to get that good news to the whole world. Now, not all of us can go and live missionally abroad and live overseas and do that. I understand that. But there are things that we can do. We can pray. I think one of the biggest lessons in the last year is that God has been revealing to me the power of prayer over and over and over and over again. Can I tell you that prayer makes a difference? And I want to encourage you to pray. Pray. Would you pray for our missionaries? In a few minutes, we're going to show you different pictures of our missionaries. I would encourage you, if you want to take a screenshot of those missionaries so that you can pray for them. Pray that God would bless them. Pray that God would keep them healthy. Pray that God would resource them. Pray that God would allow them to teach the gospel around the world. But we can all pray. And as we can help support financially. All the things that I have mentioned, all the things that we do, that when you give, when you tithe to the church, we send that out of what comes in. That's because of what you're doing, and we would love to be able to do more. And here's the third part of that is that when you can go, would you go? And I got some exciting news in just a few moments. Some of the other things that we do globally is this, that we participate in something called Operation Christmas Child. This is partnering with Samaritan's Purse, and this sends presents around the world. I mean, literally, they are strapping these to donkeys. They're strapping them to camels, like they are taking them to the tribes. They are taking them to all the hard-to-reach places. So we as a church around Christmas time, through our kids program, we collect, we do this, and we are loving and blessing people around the world through Operation Christmas Child. One of our missionaries, and they're in fact our newest missionary, we just took them on in last year, is Steve and Julie Kramer. We're going to show their picture here. They're missionaries to the Netherlands, and they're helping to plant churches, and they're also training, equipping, and mobilizing the church through compassion efforts. I just don't want to tell you about them. I want to show you their own story. So we're going to watch a quick little video to see what God is doing through them.
Been an incredible journey for us. When I first went to the Netherlands, I was single, and then I met Julie on the way, and then we've been missionaries now for 22 years in total. 10 of those were in the Netherlands where our kids were born. We speak Dutch. We love the Netherlands, and when God spoke to us to leave the Netherlands for a season, we were kind of like, what? If we ever see a windmill, I'd cry because we love the country so much. We didn't want to leave, but we knew God was calling us back, and at the time it didn't totally make sense. So the last 10 years, has been this incredible season of God preparing us, and specifically in compassion ministry as it relates to my story with cerebral palsy. Train, equip, and mobilizing the local churches to reach out in compassion to their neighborhoods. And we've seen God do incredible things in that. A couple years ago, God began to speak to us something that we never thought would have only been a dream, and that is, I want you to go, not only here in the U.S., but we want you to go back to the Netherlands, base there, and then reach the Netherlands, Europe, and the world. And I think of the passage in Luke chapter 14 where, Jesus talks about the parable of a great feast, and to go out and invite the poor, the lame, crippled, the blind, and to make sure that his house is full. And so we're going to make sure his house is full. Then it goes on to say, go out into the highways and the byways and compel them to come in. And that's what we've been doing the last 10 years, is partnering with the best scalable plug-and-play models of ministry. And so we never would have thought that going to the highways and the byways for us would be actually going back to what we would consider where our kids were born, the Netherlands, Yeah, the need is great in the Netherlands. I think anybody who knows of the Netherlands or knows of Europe knows that the need is great. But how are we going to get that done? How's that going to look? And for us, it really comes down to three things. Compassion. Compassion's kind of thing that gets the door open, where you can begin to have a conversation with people about their life and how they're hurting and how can you meet those. Then there's outreach, and we've had already requests from the Netherlands and other parts of the world in Europe and saying, local churches saying, we want to reach the poor neighborhood around us, but we have no idea how to do it. So we want to train, equip, and mobilize the local church. And then lastly, it leads to discipleship. I mean, I think compassion kind of opens the door for conversation. Then there's outreach, where you're going out to the highways and the byways. But then there's discipleship, bringing them in to be a part of the local church, the family of God. And then, disciples of Jesus always make more disciples. And that's what we're really believing. We think that this could actually be the potential to have a ministry template, if you will, that will not only be effective in the Netherlands, but also all the countries in Europe, the 55 countries in Europe, and then the rest of the world is what we're believing for. So we're so excited about what God's doing in the Netherlands. Us going to the Netherlands, and to go to the Netherlands, you need people who send you to be partners. And so we're asking you to ask the Holy Spirit if there's something specific that you can give financially. We have this really clear need of, we need housing and insurance, and of course our kids are grown, so they got to eat, but also I ride a 3-wheel bike in the Netherlands. So how much would the Lord speak to you to give? Another part of that is prayer. Would you support us in prayer? We believe that God's able to do immeasurably more than we could ever ask or imagine, but you got to ask. And so we're asking for people to pray on our behalf and to partner with us as we go over to the Netherlands.
Our next missionaries that we support monthly is Troy Dowdy, and he's in Peru. And they're establishing churches, and they're training leaders, and they're touching lives through compassion. Other missionaries that we support include the Inchefs, who are in Algeria. They're in Algeria through a company called Live Dead. What does that mean? That means when they go on the mission field, they don't always expect to come back. But they're so committed that they're going to take the gospel to the ends of the earth. They're planting churches in unreached Arab nations. We also support J.J. Farrell, he and his family there in Spain and also in Europe, and they're ministering to youth, they're ministering to young adults, and they're also ministering through compassion. I don't know if you've seen a theme throughout this, but it's compassion, acts of kindness, good deeds that open the door for the gospel message to be heard. We also support a U.S. chaplain, John Hyde, and they serve right here in America, and they go in and they help those who maybe are bound in their home because of health needs. And they go and visit and love on people and give them hope and tell them about Jesus for the aged and the isolated. We also support Gil and Alan Williams, who are our missionaries in Austria. They're reaching out to youth, to young adults, and also refugees that are in that country. And then the project that we support is called the Forgotten Project. This is to the country of Sri Lanka. And I'm going to show you this one because this is a big project that we are not just doing on our own. We are a part of something called the SoCal Network. It's an Assemblies of God. It's a network of about 500 churches that come together, and we as a network of churches have taken this giant project on. And so we're going to show you a quick little video about what this project is all about.
Our next network project is taking us to the ancient land of Sri Lanka, deep into the heart of the Buddhist Hindu world, where less than 1% of the population are born-again believers. But the winds of revival are starting to blow.
Hi, I'm Pastor Rich Guerra, Superintendent of the SoCal Network, and I'm standing in the heart of Sri Lanka in front of this Buddhist temple. Did you know that there are 22 million people that live in this country? 75% of those are Buddhists, 13 are Hindus, and less than 1% are born-again Christians. Of the 22 million, 20% are children that need hope through clean water, feeding programs, and education. We're also going to help them build churches. Come join us. Together, we can make a difference.
This particular project is an ambitious project. The cost of this is over $2 million. But all of these churches are coming together and we're making a way. And here's some of the things that they're doing. They're planting churches and they're creating house churches. Their goal is to double the amount of churches in the next 10 years. They're also providing compassion ministries. They're giving clean water filters. And to date, they've already given out 10,000 water filters. And this is having an impact of reaching over 200,000 people with clean water. They also have started the Champions Club. The Champions Club is a place, a safe place where people who can take their children, whether they're young or adult children who have special needs, perhaps they have autism, Down syndrome, whatever it may be, but the parents have to go work in the daytime. But here is a safe place that they can come and take their kids so that the families can go work. So they're creating these champion clubs. They're also working with the Sri Lanka churches, and currently they're reaching about 10,000 children a week through food programs, through after-school programs, through discipleship programs. But their goal by the end of 2025 is to increase that number up to 40,000 a week. Food, after-school programs, discipleship programs, introducing them to Jesus, giving them Bibles in their own language. And then a big part of this also is resourcing our missionaries so that they are equipped, so that they have the gospel in a language that they can give to people, so that they have a vehicle or transportation. And I'm telling you, in some of the places, it literally is a camel or a bike or a dirt bike, something, a donkey, whatever it takes to get to those remote places so that they could tell others about Jesus. You see, our global passion, our global compassion, it reflects the global scope of Jesus' love. Jesus made a way for you and I. Let's continue and expand making a way for others in this world, because everybody should hear about Jesus. Everybody should know of his love. Jesus made a way for us. We didn't deserve it. And if somebody made a way for us, can we make a way for someone else? Not just with our words, but with our time, with our talents, with our finances. Can we make a way for others? Now, I told you I wanted to tell you about some areas that we want to expand into in the next year. These are some of the things that God has been putting on our heart. And one of those, I'm going to pass the mic to Miss Nicole. She's going to come on up. We are going to be doing a back-to-school drive, and she's going to tell you a little bit about this that will be coming up.
Hello again. So one thing that has been placed on our hearts is to do a backpack drive. So we're looking at August. We want to try to get together 250 backpacks with supplies. And I actually reached out to some members of our church who own a restaurant, and they said, hey, we could help with food, with drinks, with chips. Do you need bounce houses? Yes, we do. And so we have just a great location here, so we would love if anyone wants to volunteer. If you guys want to talk to me about how you can be involved, we would love for all of you to be involved.
All right. I told her to be short and sweet. That was short and sweet.
Yeah, but I'm going to add. Too short. Because the vision of this is like loving on and serving our community kids before they go back to school, right? And so like, what are the things that kids need to feel like I belong and I can go back to school? They need a backpack with supplies, because the kid who tells me in my classroom, Mrs. Smith, I don't have a binder. Mrs. Smith, I don't have scissors. Mrs. Smith, my parents can't get me. What do? I go out and I buy those kids the things that they need for my classroom. But there's tons of kids all over this community that need their things in their backpack. So that's like step one, right? And then like having a good meal and having fun and feeling like they just came to a carnival and won a prize. And it's not because I don't have a backpack, it's because, hey, this is a really cool thing that I came to, and I got to eat food and I got to do a jump house. But what if there was some other things that we could include in that? So that's where we want you to think about those other things. Like, hey, I'm a hairdresser. I could give haircuts that day. Hey, like, what does it mean to a kid to go to school on the first day of school and feel like, oh, good haircut. I'm all clean, got my fade, all the things, right? Fades aren't in anymore. I'm not She's not the hairdresser. But like, what if somebody was a hairdresser and you could help out? Or what if we could start gathering some clothing for kids and they could go and they could pick out a first day of school outfit? Like the sky's the limit on what we can do here. So what do you feel like you can bring to that thing that we are going to bring to life here in August?
The most important thing is we can't do it without you.
Right.
So not only just resources, but time. What shows the most is where your time goes and our resources. And so if you'd like to give time, if you have ideas, we would love this to be a full church family effort. So.
Thank you. We'll give you more information as we get closer, but we're putting it out there so that you can dream with us. One of the things that God has also put in my heart that we will step into as a church in this next year is helping to fund the translation of the Bible. Do you know that there is over 1 billion people that don't have the gospel in their language? And we could be part of that. We could be a part of making a way for others to read about who Jesus is. And so you're going to hear more about that stuff later, but I'm just giving you a little bit of glimpse. One of the other things that I'm really excited about this coming fall, we as a church, we will be going on a missions trip. We will be going to Mexico, and we will be loving on kids there. We'll be partnering with an organization called The Mission. I'm going to get you some more information about that soon, but I just want to let you know, if you don't got a passport and you want to go, get your passport card. But we would love for you to come with us. We're going to invite teenagers to come with us as well, but we want to just come and love on people, because I can tell you that your life is changed when you go on a missions trip. Your life is impacted, but we're also making a way for others. And so we want to create those opportunities. And another thing that I want to do next spring, my goal as a pastor is that we would always have what I would call like an entry-level missions trip that, hey, it's a couple $100, right? Maybe it's 3 or 4 days. But then that we would also provide opportunity for those who can and want to be able to go on an overseas missions trip. In a couple of weeks, I'm going on a pastor scouting trip with other pastors, but I'm going to Costa Rica. And we're going to be looking at some schools and churches, and hey, how can we come alongside? How can we resource you? How can we come and do some sort of light construction projects and whatnot? How can we give testimonies? And so then I'll come back and be like, hey, next spring we're going. And so I'm excited because I believe that everybody should go on a missions trip. It's incredible and will change your life. You see, compassion opens the door. It softens hearts. Compassion tears down walls. When people feel loved and seen, when they've been served, they begin to believe. They begin to see that this Jesus just isn't a story, that this Jesus is real. And if these strangers would do this for me because of what Jesus did for them, then maybe I need to pay attention to that.